We've all been there, right? Stuck in one of those arguments that just goes around and around in circles, and you leave feeling completely drained and, well, like you got nowhere. Today, we're going to dig into why that happens and what's really going on under the hood.
It's like you're on this hamster wheel of blame and defense. You're trying your best to solve a real problem, but no matter what you say, the conversation just spirals. You both end up exhausted and nothing, absolutely nothing, gets resolved.
You see, in these moments, the conversation stops being about the actual issue. It's not about the dishes or the deadline or whatever started it. It becomes all about who's at fault. The main event is assigning blame, and suddenly, finding a solution feels completely impossible. That's the telltale sign of a very specific, unwinnable kind of fight.
So yeah, let's talk about that. The unwinnable argument. Because this experience is so universal, it actually has a framework that helps explain it. And just knowing there's a name for this pattern can be a huge relief. It means you're not crazy. It's a recognizable dynamic, and once you can name it, you can start to navigate it.
So what is it? The term, which comes from the High Conflict Institute, is simply high conflict. And it's important to know, this isn't just a really bad argument. No, it's a predictable, repeating pattern of behavior that makes it totally different from our everyday disagreements.
It really helps to picture conflict on a spectrum. On one end, you've got ordinary conflict, the small stuff that you resolve quickly, no hard feelings. Then, in the middle, there's situational conflict. You might be really upset about a specific thing, but you can calm down and work through it. But way, way over on the far end of the spectrum, that's high conflict, and it's marked by these constant upsets, finding it almost impossible to calm down, and you guessed it, holding on to grudges.
And this really shows the difference in black and white. In low conflict, things are flexible. People can self-reflect, they take some responsibility, they manage their feelings. But in high conflict, it's the total opposite. Thinking becomes super rigid. The focus is always on blaming someone else. There's zero responsibility taken, and emotions just run wild. It's cooperation versus blame, plain and simple.
The High Conflict Institute uses this brilliant metaphor to explain it. They say to think of it like a personal operating system, or an OS. It's like this program that's always running in the background, telling a person exactly how to react in a conflict, often without them even realizing it's happening.
And this OS has 4 key characteristics. First, all or nothing thinking, where people and situations are either 100% good or 100% evil, with no gray area. Second, unmanaged emotions. These are feelings that are super intense, way out of proportion to what's actually going on. Third, extreme behaviors. We're talking about actions that 90% of people would just never do. And finally, the big one, the cornerstone of it all, a preoccupation with blaming others.
Now, this blame isn't just sprayed around randomly. No, the high conflict pattern needs a focus. All of that intense, negative energy gets directed onto one specific person or group. They become the target of blame. And in the mind of the person in high conflict, that target is single-handedly responsible for the entire problem.
Okay, this is probably the most important point we're going to make. It is absolutely crucial to understand that high conflict is not a mental health diagnosis. We are not armchair psychologists here, and we're not labeling people. It is simply a description, a way to talk about a very predictable, observable pattern of behavior. So the big question is, why does this happen? What is going on inside someone's head that makes them get stuck in this loop? Well, to get that, we have to take a quick look at the brain.
So, let's keep it simple. Think of your brain as having 2 different modes when it gets into a conflict. You've got your calm, logical, thinking brain, and you've got your fast, emotional, reacting brain. Let's break that down. Your thinking brain, that's your rational side. It handles careful analysis, language, planning, problem solving. It's the part that keeps you calm and content. But the reacting brain, oh, that's all about pure instinct. Gut feelings, reading facial expressions, defensive emotions like anger and fear. It's what triggers that primal fight or flight response.
And here's the absolute key to the whole thing. When a person feels threatened, and that threat can be real or just perceived, that reacting brain can completely hijack the system. It takes over. And when it does, it literally shuts down access to the logical, problem-solving thinking brain. So the person isn't operating from reason anymore. They're coming from a place of pure, raw defense.
Okay, so now that we kind of get the what and the why of high conflict, how can we actually use this information? Well, it all starts with one thing, learning to recognize the pattern while it's happening.
So let's do a quick recap of the key signs to watch for. Is there an intense, laser-like focus on one target of blame? Are the emotions off the charts, totally out of proportion to the actual situation? Is all the language black and white, all or nothing, with no room for nuance? And finally, are you seeing behaviors that just seem extreme or shocking? If you're nodding yes to these, you're probably looking at a high-conflict pattern.
And remember, the goal here isn't to walk around diagnosing your friends or family. The point is to understand the pattern. Because once you see it for what it is, you gain the power to step out of that cycle of blame and try a different, more effective approach.
So, we'll leave you with a final question to chew on. Now that you're armed with this new lens for understanding high conflict, what do you see differently in the world around you?